Sausage.
Hello, and welcome to Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Marcus Nez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is episode number 4 in the System Shock series. I don't know exactly how to call the string of episodes. Series makes sense, but it also feels like, well, Attack the Backlog is this series, so this is the series within a series, and there are multiple series. I don't know what I'm doing, but this is the 4th and final episode, so let us just get into things, because I literally just finished it now, and I have thoughts. So, first and foremost, last episode and this episode, I stopped taking notes. Not because I think notes are bad, but because I think I was bad at taking notes, and I want to figure out the best note-taking practices and what makes the most sense for me. Because the second episode, it was clear it was becoming more of a, I'm just treating this like a diary. Putting down some random thoughts, but nothing substantial, nothing that I really need to write down to come back to as a reference material, which is what I would like the notes to more so be. But that is neither here nor there, not that important. So, in the end, I really liked System Shock. I can't again compare this remake to the original, but I overall enjoyed my time. However, I did not like the ending. I think the final boss fight was boring and tedious. I think every boss fight in the game, the few that there are bullet spongy poo-poo holes that I do not enjoy. It seems like all these Shock games can't really do bosses that well. Atmosphere, tension, regular enemies, chef's kiss, wonderful. Then you want to throw a boss fight at me because you feel like you need to have a boss fight or a few boss fights, and then you don't know what to do with it other than make the enemy bullet spongy and OP and annoying as hell to fight. And that's where we're left. Deus Ex, the first reboot-ish one, was that Mankind Divided, had the same issue, which they patched, I believe, but I never played it post-patch. So the boss fights were not good, and the ending wasn't good. And this episode was one I probably should have stretched out into. I really wanted to push through and make this the final episode because it just felt like it was time to move on. And I think I did myself somewhat of a disservice because I ended up playing this past week about 12 to 13 hours to make that happen. That is because I did die quite a bit, and in sections where I had to reload a save that was far enough back that it became clear that I had to return to save scumming in certain sections when I was in the executive level, or because this is following maintenance. I think that's where I left off last episodes. So we have maintenance, executive, security. What is the one in between? There's someone in between, somewhere in between. Or was it maintenance where you had the groves you had to deal with? But on Beta Grove, I believe, which is under radiation, I was save scumming the shit out of that area because I did not want to have to redo that section over and over and over again, or explore it and use all my radiation consumables and stuff like that. But as it went on, it became much more combat heavy, still exploration based, and out of necessity, even though I had plenty of batteries on me, started using my weapons like I was doing last time. And that made the combat more fun because it's more fun to use real weapons than your energy weapon, even though I got a energy rifle that was very, very powerful, especially when you soup it up to power level 3 and charge it at its full capacity. It's incredibly powerful. But I was using my shotgun, used my pistol until I ran out of ammo, and then I found a assault rifle that I started using for the rest of the game because I had accumulated quite a bit of ammo for that. And the submachine gun used the same ammo as the pistol, so that wouldn't do me any good. And I couldn't remember where a pulse rifle was because I threw things around all over the place. I did use the railgun on some bigger enemies and bosses, which was quite useful and helpful, though not a satisfying gun to use because it doesn't have a satisfying projectile that comes out of it. It feels weirdly like nothing happens when you fire it. At first, I wasn't even sure if I was hitting the targets or if anything was happening because I used it on, I don't think it was Diego, because Diego was just a giant robot and not, so it may have been Diego. It was the boss where they dropped, no, because that was a spider boss, because you end up fighting the spider boss or a variation, another spider boss 2 more times, and one of them drops a key you need. But it's not that I've soured on the game, but in forcing myself to make sure I got through it for this episode, my opinion died down a little. For a good chunk of this game, I was sitting at a 9. Not a 10. I don't think I was ever in 10 territory as much as I was loving it and as it may have sounded like I was maybe in that 10 territory. But now I'm sitting at more of an 8. It's not a 7 at all. The ending and some of my frustrations did not drop it that low, but it's a solid 8, which isn't bad. It's just not 9, which is a high level. It's hard to get there. There are frustrating elements of the game too that I always forgot to mention every episode, and I kept saying to myself, don't forget to say that next time, don't forget to say that next time. This wouldn't be an issue on PC when using a mouse and keyboard, but every time I was in my inventory looking around or moving things around and I accidentally pressed the X button, playing on an Xbox Series X again, just to remind people, but when I pressed the X button and it automatically sorted my inventory to the way it wanted to do it, however its parameters worked, drove me fucking crazy, and I had to fix it because I never liked what they did. I was never in agreement with their decision-making process. So that became very, very annoying, and I probably did that a dozen times at least throughout the entire playthrough. I wish the map was a bit clearer in defining what parts are what, so that a CPU room was listed as a CPU room instead of it just being more vague and having areas just be called storage room 5, but they don't specify what this specific room is. I wish there was more clarification there because it would have made it a bit easier to find things later on, because that is another reason why my final week of play and my overall playthrough was 28 hours, why it was a bit bloated. When I had to go back and find all the CPU nodes to get the code to the reactor, I didn't know where the fuck I had to go. I didn't know where all these computer rooms were. I couldn't remember that. And maybe I'm assuming the numbers were already there when I destroyed those rooms earlier on, but maybe they weren't. But if they were, how the hell? I don't think there was any information that would have led me to think I need to write down these codes and know that they are in the order of floors for the eventual use in the reactor. Because I didn't get that information that that's where the password was until getting someone's log, an audio log, on, I think, the executive level or maintenance, one of those later levels. I'm curious if there's an additional ending, an alternate ending for this as well, because there was a log I got that told me about a code for one of the escape pods on the flight deck. And I'm curious if there's a bad ending where you just don't want to deal with Shodan or any of this bullshit and you just want to fucking get out and let Shodan do whatever she gonna do. I might load a save just to check that out. I am very curious what the easy mode for this game is like that they added to this remake, which gives you waypoints and objectives and makes everything much more granular and clear, and supposedly makes the game beatable in 6-ish hours. I remember them citing in the email, but I don't really know what to say because it is so fresh in my mind, but I have to get this recorded and put up the episode. I like that as the game got going or in those later areas with executive and those groves in maintenance and then in security, the areas started feeling much more distinct so that it wasn't like I was looking at the same thing all the time. It's still easy to get turned around, but that satisfaction of exploring areas and discovering more parts of them, finding shortcuts, opening up shortcuts, kept being satisfying until the very end. It was just that combat became a bit frustrating, and some of the cheap ways they would throw enemies at you after completing certain objectives, so that saves coming was kind of important. I'm not sure if there's an achievement for completing this in, I don't know, I don't think there's an Iron Man type mode or whatnot where you don't have any respawns, because I think there was something like that added to BioShock. I can't imagine doing that with some of the cheapness in this game. There's a part where I activated something or deactivated something, and then Shodan sent those little Roomba explosion bots at me in about a pack of 20. And I hated that. When I heard them, I was like, shit. I don't know where they are, but I hear them. This sucks. I'm going to save. And every time I destroy one of them and I still hear them, I'm going to save again. And I'm going to just keep saving. I'm going to keep saving and keep saving. So that was a little annoying. The shooting just too on consoles, because there isn't, I think I mentioned this in one of the previous episodes, seemingly no aim assist. It can get a little frustrating, and the left trigger to zoom in a little bit, but not iron sights, your traditional left trigger to iron sights control scheme, because that's not there. The shooting does feel frustrating at times on a gamepad, where I could see it being a lot more forgiving and a non-issue on PC. One of the things I ended up never using was those automatic puzzle solving nodes, cubes, devices, because one of the things I enjoyed throughout was solving the puzzles. They're really simple. They're not super challenging, but they're more engaging than the pipe dream puzzles from BioShock, because there's at least a little bit more to them than just... I can't remember them in BioShock, so maybe there was a bit more to them, but at least there's a bit more than just you connect the pipes. There are extra bits and pieces on them that switch up the thing a little bit and add a little bit of extra flavor to them. So I enjoy doing those every single time. I almost wish I put up the puzzles to difficulty 3, because they were not challenging either. That was another reason why I never felt the need to use those devices. The puzzles once I figured out exactly how they worked, became very, very, very easy, but still satisfying, even if they were easy. I don't know if there's anything else left to say. It was fun getting the reveal much later on or near the end that I was a lady, and getting my name revealed that way, because it was something I never really thought about. Oh, I don't know who I am, really. But now I do. And I just finished it, and I can't even remember. I think my name was Bianca. Maybe if I took notes, I'd have more to say here. But I don't. So, that is gonna do it for this final episode of the System Shock Attack the Backlog sub-series, whatever you want to call it. Again, I really enjoyed the game. I don't think it's perfect. Nothing is perfect, but in terms of what I would say is perfect, it's not in my perfect camp, but it is a solid 8 out of 10. It could have been a 9, but it went on a bit too long. Even if I did take a break and spread this across 2 weeks as opposed to this one final week, I don't think that would have changed it or kept it at a 9 as opposed to the 8 it has ended up being. And maybe the original, I was like looking at nothing there. Maybe the original would have been higher for me. I don't know. But yeah. Once again though, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. We don't go there just yet. If you enjoy this here episode or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS, where you get access to an exclusive monthly Q&A, private Discord channel, and so much other stuff. You can go there and just see for yourself. I don't feel like I need to give you the whole spiel. There's stuff you can get depending on the tier, or you can just support me to support me. So if you want to do any of that, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the Discord, the YouTube, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. For a second, I got scared that I accidentally hit stop recording, but I didn't. So, once again, but for now, have a way. What I got so distracted. Have a wonderful rest of your day, whenever you're watching or listening to this. But for now, adios, arrivederci, bye.